Breaking news out of Dallas. A deadly shooting has left 2 detainees dead and another critically injured after gunfire erupted at a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility. A shocking clue, an unused bullet marked with the words ANTIC, is now at the center of the investigation. This happened just after 6:40 a.m. at the ICE field office along I-35E near Dallas Love Field Airport. According to officials, the shooter fired from a nearby rooftop, targeting a detainee transport van parked in the secure Sallyport area. 3 detainees were struck by the gunfire. 2 of them later died, one at the scene and another at the hospital, and the third remains in critical condition tonight. The shooter, identified by media sources as 29-year-old Joshua Jahn, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound before police engaged. Investigators discovered multiple shell casings, including one with ANTIC written on it. The FBI says they are treating this as an act of targeted violence, possibly ideologically motivated. Federal agents are now combing through John's background and searching locations linked to him. Federal and state leaders condemned the attack. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem called the shooting unprecedented violence. Senator Ted Cruz urged politicians to stop demonizing ICE, while Texas Governor Greg Abbott labeled the shooter an assassin and pledged ICE operations would continue. Local community leaders, meanwhile, are urging calm and calling for a rejection of violence. This incident is likely to reignite debate over immigration enforcement, government accountability, and the role of political rhetoric in fueling violence. It could also lead to tighter security around IC facilities and possible legal changes related to protest zones. This is a developing story, and we'll keep you updated as more facts emerge. What do you think this means for America's immigration debate and the safety of government facilities? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss updates.
FBI released this photo showing the exact words anti-ICE scrawled on shell casings found on the roof. Despite that, no law enforcement personnel were hurt. But they are emphatic about bringing days like this to an end.
The takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. It's dangerous, and people are losing their lives.
In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese.
And one of the big questions that still needs a definitive answer is why? We've learned more about the suspect in the past few hours, including Joshua Jahn's history right here in North Texas.
Today, federal law enforcement swarmed 2 homes linked to the suspect's family, one in Durant, Oklahoma, and another in Fairview in Collin County. Here's Teresa Woodard.
A tactical team of federal agents rolled down a gravel road toward a secluded home on the outskirts of Durant, Oklahoma. 70 miles to the south in Fairview, Texas, the FBI spent hours moving in and out of a house on a quiet cul-de-sac. Both addresses associated with 29-year-old suspect Joshua Jahn. This is an old mugshot from a 2015 marijuana arrest in Collin County.
They've been great neighbors.
This family's Collin County neighbors told us they keep to themselves but are always cordial.
I've had lovely interactions with their family, so I'm so horrified to hear about all this.
No one on this street knew much about Joshua Jahn, and while the FBI director called what happened a politically motivated attack, one of John's childhood friends described him to ABC as, quote, the least political out of all the people I knew in high school. John's friends said he was a gamer, mainly interested in internet culture. His profile pic had been a meme of a man with a Soviet flag. It's not a political thing, a friend told ABC. It's just being on the computer too much. Those friends said they hadn't spoken with John in 10 years, but we've confirmed in the decade that passed, he briefly attended the University of Texas at Dallas and at times Collin College. Police say John died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
The FBI left this home in Fairview tonight with a trunkload of evidence, including at least one computer. In Fairview, I'm Teresa Woodard.
Unfortunately, today's shooting isn't the first threat against immigration facilities in Texas this year. On the 4th of July, suspects dressed in black military gear opened fire outside the Prairieland Detention Center in Alvarado. A police officer was shot in the neck. More than a dozen people have been arrested in connection with that attack. Just 3 days later, a man with a rifle opened fire on a Border Patrol center in McAllen. The suspect managed to shoot an officer in the knee before authorities shot and killed him. And just last month, there was a bomb threat at the same facility as today's shooting. A man arrived at the Dallas field office and claimed to have a bomb in his backpack with a detonator and was immediately taken into custody.
Earlier today, ABC News spoke with acting ICE Director Todd Lyons. He was asked what he wants people to understand following today's events.
What I want is people to understand that the men and women of ICE are doing a law enforcement mission. They're sworn law enforcement officers just like everyone else. And these attacks and the rhetoric and the threats against ICE agents and their families needs to stop for all law enforcement. You know, in this operation in Dallas, it wasn't just ICE officers every day working out of there. We have the FBI, ATF, DEA, all our other federal partners and local partners. So any attack on an ICE facility, you're not attacking ICE, you're attacking just brave men and women in law enforcement who wear the badge every day.
And this attack has sparked reaction from Democrats and Republicans, including the President of the United States. Here's part of what President Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "The brave men and women of ICE are just trying to do their jobs and remove the worst of the worst criminals out of our country, but they are facing an unprecedented increase in threats, violence, and attacks by deranged radical leftists." Now, we need to point out, investigators have yet to release a clear motive here, and we don't know much about the detainees' backgrounds. The Democratic delegation from Texas released a statement of its own saying, quote, "We are horrified at the shooting that has taken place at the ICE processing facility in Dallas, and our prayers are with the victims and the first responders. We unequivocally condemn all forms of violence and urge everyone to refrain from rhetoric that fans the flames from all sides."
You know, this shooting comes exactly 2 weeks after conservative activist Charlie Kirk was shot and killed, putting political violence in the spotlight. After Kirk's death, Quinnipiac University took a national poll on political violence. People were asked how serious of a problem they think it is. 71% of those who responded called it very serious. 22% said somewhat serious. Just 4% called it not so serious or not a problem at all.
So, Rebecca, you've been speaking with your sources all evening. Where do things stand in terms of the investigation and they're on the scene?
Well, look, that crime scene is going to remain a crime scene throughout the night and possibly through tomorrow. It takes a long time to process something like this. You've got several federal agencies involved. You saw a little while ago a video of the Joint Terrorism Task Force. All of those people have a different role, and that just takes time. So it's going to be a little while before we can find out a little bit more information.
Who's in charge?
So the FBI is in charge right now. Initially, when it first happened, it was the Dallas Police Department. Their officers got to the scene. They actually transported people in their squad cars, the wounded, because they could not send Dallas Fire Rescue in immediately because it was an active shooter and they thought there was obviously a sniper on the roof. So it was the Dallas Police Department. But once they got the scene under control, it is now the FBI, and typically they don't release as much information as the locals.
And that's what's interesting. The FBI said today, no more news conferences. We're not going to answer any more questions here. If you want to know more about this, contact the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Federal Prosecutor's Office. Two central themes here of what we have an answer. We kind of touched on it here a moment ago. Number one, what was the motive? But even secondly, was this sniper targeting detainees or targeting ICE officials? And that's what we just don't know yet. It appears at this point, though, that federal prosecutors have gotten enough information from DPD, from what the FBI is collecting, from what's happening in D.C., likely scrubbing this guy's social accounts, to build a profile of him. The next question after that is, did he act alone? Is there somebody else that charges might be filed against in the coming days?
And you know, I'm a little surprised at how quickly the FBI director, Kash Patel, put out the picture of those bullet casings, because typically they don't release information like this until they have a full profile. And you recall the Allen Mall shooting. They still have not given a motive for that shooting and a profile of that suspect.
Yeah, and
we're still waiting.
This was clearly a planned event of political violence here. How did this individual get into an office building in the middle of the night? Had he stayed in there overnight? Did he go in early in the morning? Does he know somebody who might have an office in there? And then secondly, how long had he planned this? Again, more central questions the FBI is trying to answer that federal prosecutors want to answer as well, because you don't just roll up and know when these detainee vans are moving around. This person clearly staked out this facility.
And on top of that, how did he gain access?
Sure.
And all of this comes at a time when many immigrants in North Texas are already on edge.
Adriana Dalba just spoke with an immigration attorney on what it means to lose all sense of safety.
As the first gunshots echoed, one after the next, at a transport van heading to this Dallas ICE facility. Denise Robleto says she heard more than 20 gunshots, hid in her car. Her mom, Mayra, was inside the ICE building for an appointment this morning. When I heard the first gunshots, I thought of her, and it's difficult. Difficult, she says, to show up to an immigration proceeding and experience horror. The FBI is calling the shooting that left one detainee dead and 2 critical a targeted attack. It makes me emotional because we come to these appointments and never know what could happen. And after today,
they fear what could happen to them.
Jaime Vasquez is an immigration attorney familiar with this ICE facility and the law offices surrounding it.
With the current immigration conversation and the increase in the temperature and the rhetoric that we have seen, many of these immigration offices now become possible targets.
And that's what's at the heart of this. If a federal building is unsafe, then what is?
They shouldn't have to be afraid that they're going to be the victims of violence on the left or the right. I think either one is wrong. And we need to condone violence and violent rhetoric.
This family says they were already navigating a system filled with uncertainty. She says it's something horrible because in that moment I wasn't thinking about my kids, I was thinking about my mom. Honestly, it's extremely difficult. And